So last week's guest recommended that Rick Rubin book.
Oh yeah.
I read about physically reading. Last week's guest, Nate Leahy. I didn't ask him how to pronounce his last name. Typical journalist in me. He said this is the line that got me when he said he read the Rick Rubin creative book once a month for a
year.
or for a year last year. I was like, this cat read a book for 12 months, 12 times in a year. That's ridiculous. Went to the beach on Sunday. I was talking about this. I read like 107 pages that day. And I've read like maybe 40 cents. Very interesting book.
Yeah. Like I said, my thought was you have to be in the right mindset, because some of the stuff is, it can be out there, but some of the stuff resonates really well.
Yeah. I like little tangent books like that because I'm squirrely.
Yeah.
So it's good for a nutbag like me. I like that. So kudos to the rest to that recommendation. What's on your mind, Tim?
Well, right now, I'm like shivering because like we had like false spring, and we're back to like winter, and so I woke up this morning because I'm like fighting. I'm like, I can't have the heat on in the house because it's like the middle of April. So I wake up and I just look to see what the temperature was in the house, and 58 degrees, but I'm still holding strong and not turning on the heat, man. It just, we'll see.
Well, if it makes you feel better, AC one day, heat the next day, AC one day, heat the next day.
Right.
Sure, it's like this every year. I was trying to do what you did, but I shivered too much, and 7 layers was too much, and I couldn't handle it.
Yeah. So we'll see. It's 58. I think that might be a record. That's typically when the smoke alarms start to chirp, and then you run around the house trying to find the smoking.
Wait for real?
The chirping fire alarm. Well, because the battery. It's the batteries that's weakened because of how cold it is in your house, and
never knew that. How well do you know today's guest?
I know. I'm nervous and excited at the same time because typically Debbie is a great person to find trouble with, and that that part of me is this will be a fun show.
Okay, allegedly, this is what I've just been told, that Debbie and I met briefly at the Startup World Cup back in August. I don't remember that. So was this like?
Dude, there was so much going on. That was a wild day. That was pretty high stress on a lot of different levels. I remember. So we had we did a random draw, and I think it was right out of the gate. A Lighthouse Lab company went first, correct?
What do you mean? Was the first company that pitched?
Yeah.
Yup.
Oh.
And tech was, as we remember, tech was bananas at the time. Debbie sending me a text saying they were cut short. And I'm like, dude, I don't even like, what can I do at this point?
Wait, so we're blaming the clock now?
Yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
I think
what happened. A minute of their pitch.
Well, maybe it should have been a 3-minute pitch.
I don't know, but that was a really stressful. There was all kinds of emotion going on that.
You know how maybe you don't know this, but like WWE does these things for WrestleMania where they call it like 24, and they do like the full 24 hours of the whole cycle. So you see the behind the scenes stuff, like the chaos and something like that is ridiculous. But it was somewhat like that backstage for us because during the politicians talking, we could hear that nonsense. But as soon as they were ended, for some reason they turned that off, so we couldn't hear a damn thing in the backstage. So we don't know that anything's going on. So we're having conversations like, okay, this is what we need to do next, yada yada yada. This is where we are, talking to other people. We were trying to communicate with our team in different parts of the room. That
I will say,
I'll just say that 60 seconds missed out. That sucks. Oops.
We've had a lot of fun. But the thing that I appreciate the most about Debbie is that she is a founder. She really is a founders first, has the founders back person, and she will speak her mind and let anyone know if she feels that the founder is getting screwed over. So
That's
from
my
that
type of
aspect,
person.
I love that.
That is my type of person.
It's more fun
And
that
so
way.
that's why I'm a little not funny nervous about this show, because there's no telling where this show could go today.
We haven't even let her talk yet.
Is that accurate though, Debbie? I mean, you truly care. You are the mama bear for the founders that you work with.
1000%. Yeah. Yeah. I just remember at Startup World Cup, I went backstage and I was like, Tim, you cut them off by a minute. You missed a whole minute of their pitch because the timer started 49 seconds late.
Now, I just want you to know that we do have video evidence of this. So if it's not true,
I have video evidence of it.
Okay, well, I'm going down that rabbit hole today. We're gonna find out.
I will send you my video because I recorded all their pitches.
So did they start at like 3:11, or like how did it happen?
I'd have to go back and look at the video, but like they started their pitch in the after the timer had already started.
So it sounds like user error on their fault.
No, like they didn't know that the timer had already started, and they were like, "All right, go ahead and go." I don't know. I have to go back and look at it.
Yeah, we were. I think that was.
That'll be my.
I can rest assured that we have not announced yet where we are doing the Startup World Cup. That will be soon. But being able to go into this place, we've already established. What time the doors open last year? 5:30. I don't know. We'll be able to go in the space at 1:00 as opposed to like a half an hour before start of doors open. So we'll have a lot of that ironed out this year. So I'm super excited about that.
Solid. I'm excited. I mean, you also have a significantly more planning time instead of 4 weeks. So there's that.
Yeah, we learning curve with everything.
What was 4 weeks? That's how long
we were like
it was
notified.
last week?
Yeah, like we were notified like 3 or 4 weeks before it was happening that this big thing was happening and to send all the pitches in.
Yeah, it was a lot of moving parts, and we're super excited to have Lighthouse. You all have always been a really great supporter of everything. You know, I mean, like, it's great. So I appreciate that collaboration. That's been going on for a long time.
Yeah, all the way back to Todd and Larkin in 2012.
No, I think even before then. So because I was
Todd.
No, I'm saying like they were like I remember Todd had the idea because I met him. I feel like I met him when TechCrunch came to town. When I convinced TechCrunch to come to town, Debbie, it sounds like you were. That was 13 years before that. But So in 2012, I guess it was early 2012, I was about to open Hatch. And Todd was like, "Oh, I'm so like envious. I want to use that word, envious, that you figured out how to get this open." Because he had the idea before me to do Lighthouse, and he just, for whatever reason, him and Larkin couldn't get it done.
Yep.
And so obviously it launched fairly quickly after that. But I think that's where I met Todd. And then I remember Startup Virginia Partnership, which I don't think they're still around, but that was like the Steve Case organization, Tim.
Oh, Rise and the Rest. Yeah, Rise and
Yes,
Rest.
they had something even before that.
Yeah.
And they sent us all out to Boulder, and they gave 2 tickets to Virginia, and I gave my ticket to Todd. I still went there to Boulder, but he got my ticket. And then I think Lighthouse has been good friend. Like there's been good synergies between the communities. So that's been nice.
Yeah. Startup Community Way and Brad Feld back in the day.
Well, and that's the funny thing is that like you hear other people from other parts of the ecosystem, and they're like making it such a big deal about Richmond and Hampton Roads working together. And I'm like, we've always worked together. Like that's not anything new for us. I don't know what you mean.
Do you know why I think it is? And I don't think people will want to hear this. Is that because I think in some capacities, startup communities are the new economic development, and you're getting people who are in government-y jobs and they're not on the ground level, grassroots style. And I think because a lot of the people on these 2 organizations are very like bottom of the totem pole, people putting in the cement into the foundation. I think that's why you see it where on the other communities, it's people that are like, okay, this is like my econ dev job in the community, and it's just very different.
And also, just
Yeah.
again, to Tim's point, telling it like it is, it's the funding structures that exist behind these things too. So if you look at the funding that's available for ecosystem development, a lot of times they require regionalism. And so when you start to push outside of regionalism and combine regions, it starts to create this nuance of like, wait, why are you helping startups that aren't from your region? Like, you're supposed to be doing this regional bottom up specific to the region's need thing. And it's like, no, that's not always how it works, because sometimes there's either not enough density, or you need certain mentors that are outside of that region, or you need investors that are outside of that region. And so a lot of times for these organizations to thrive and continue to exist, we end up having to fight each other for certain funding pools, because that's how the funding is set up. And so if we can get the funders to start breaking down that mindset, then there's a lot more cross collaboration, and not just cooperation, but real collaboration that can continue to happen across the ecosystem.
Not to mention, companies founders don't look at barriers like that. They don't
Nope.
care, right?
Nope.
So it's very obnoxious in the way that people think. It's like, okay, all your customers are probably not local.
Yeah.
And you want that awareness globally, so be open to that. And it's always been shocking to me how like narrow minded individuals are about some of this stuff. It's like, yeah, I don't, if you could sell someone in California and Cheyenne, Wyoming, in some Peru, why not?
Yeah. And I think that's another big thing too, of if the entrepreneurs aren't focused to one area, why do we have to be? And at the same time, they're also not just getting their talent from here, but when we bring in entrepreneurs that are outside of our area too, we're also getting to show off the talent and the resources that exist here. And so one of the things we've been talking a lot about at Lighthouse is that the way that we're approaching how we're developing Lighthouse is the new form of attraction-based economic development. Back in the day, attraction-based economic development was go find the big corporate, bring them in, have them set up shop, etc. But what we're doing now within ecosystem development and entrepreneur support and founder support is we're now the new type of attraction, bringing in investors and bringing in corporate partners to be customers of the startups that we support and to invest in the startups that we support. And maybe that startups in Nova, maybe that startups in New York, maybe that startups in Richmond. But being able to bring these communities and networks together creates real impact, because now all of a sudden people are talking to each other all the time. There's resources that they can get from the different communities that they are part of, and it's also not a burden to the entrepreneur anymore. Like, think about all of the parents in particular. It's one that I focus on because I'm a parent to 3 kids under 7. I need to build where I have a support community. And so it doesn't make sense to ask startups to move to the locations that Lighthouse sits in, because maybe their community is not there. Maybe their grandparents aren't there. Maybe their families aren't there. Like, how are we building on the ground where these founders are, and then connecting those hubs and spokes across the entire area that we serve, rather than expecting you have to set up shop and stay here for 3 years?
Hubs and spokes. I like that.
Yep. That's the terminology in particular that Kauffman Foundation came up with during the eShip playbook.
Here I am thinking you're a genius and you stole it.
No, I
No,
steal
it's
things all the time.
like the airline model as well.
Yeah. Victor Huang is a genius, and so is Andy Stoll and all the folks that worked at Kauffman during those days. And now Victor's running Right to Start. So if you want to look at cool policy work,
Oh, is that what he's
check
doing
out
now?
Victor. Yeah. Oh, it's so cool. Victor's incredible, and Andy Stoll's running the Ecosystem Builder Leadership Project. And so they're continuing to do amazing things, but like, I got the luxury of having Larkin Garvey as one of my mentors, which means I connected to the entire national ecosystem, and I got mentors left and right center. And so I get to import knowledge for a job, pretty much. I get to travel and bring knowledge back and bring investors back. It's a good time.
How many cohorts? Are you in your second or third cohort now as the leader of Lighthouse?
This is my 3rd.
Wow.
Yeah, I started 1 week before my first one last year. I started in February. And so they're like, week on the job, by the way, cohort starting. And then we went immediately into recruitment right after that. And then I got to be a big part of that second cohort. So that was batch 17. And then obviously we've got batch 18 running right now, which will change names soon. But our founders of 2025 are looking pretty good so far. But yeah, three rounds already.
Wow. Where does the time go?
Right. Also, that's so many founders in 1 year, which again, reasons why we're switching to one cohort instead of two.
Yeah. Shout out
I
to
was
Bloombrick.
We love us some Brick. Leland and Adam and Justin are great.
Yeah, they're in the office next to mine, and I mean the momentum is on their side right now. They have got a lot of things that are going, and I don't know if you had a chance to check out the micro doc that the video that we did with featuring them, but I thought it turned out great. And
yeah, they sent it to us in our Lighthouse Batch 18 group chat, so we could all check it out.
Nice.
But you haven't watched it yet.
I watched the first 7 minutes and then I got ADHD and distracted.
Okay.
Let's be honest here. I've got 3 kids under 7 and I run an organization and life is nuts. So keeping my attention is difficult at times.
16 minutes and 32 seconds here. We still have your attention. Congratulations, Tim. We are rock stars. Okay, so don't know you very well, right? This was supposed to be an interview like 8 weeks from now. So I did very minimal. Actually, I did no research on you, so I don't know anything. I don't want to be a liar. I don't want to be accused of as a liar because as a 41-year-old, I just don't think it's necessary to lie. You know, it just seems ridiculous. So you said you lived in Stanton. Is that like born and raised for a long time, and then you moved to Richmond? Like, give me like the quick elevator 30-second of you.
My very fast life story. I was born in Maryland and adopted at a day old. And we 3 months later moved to Lynchburg, Virginia. So grew up in Lynchburg. Moved to Harrisonburg, Virginia for JMU because my sister also went there. So I was like, gotta go where my sister went. This is fun. And then met a cute boy while I was there and was like, crap, now I'm staying here. So I got married in between my junior and senior year of college. I was a baby. And then we moved down to Stanton because I was working in Charlottesville and he was working in Harrisonburg. And so have been in Stanton or was in Stanton from 2014 to last November. And yeah, then we moved to the lovely neighborhood of Church Hill in Richmond. So I was commuting for almost a year for Lighthouse from Stanton to Richmond, which was not enjoyable.
Every day?
2 to 3 days a week.
Is that a far drive?
It's an hour and a half.
Okay. I have 2 feeders off of that. Is he still a cute boy?
Yeah, oh, for sure. He's gotten even cuter because now he has a beard and tattoos, which I'm 1,000% here for.
Okay. Can I ask you a question about the adopted aspect?
Absolutely.
Okay, so a lot of people in my family are adopted. Have you ever tried to reach out to the birth parent? Did you like?
Yeah.
Is there any like interesting aspects of that? Because it's quite interesting. My mom had a brother and another brother, and only her and one of the brothers were adopted together. And then like years later, she tried finding her other brother. She did, and they actually lived here in Norfolk, Tim. But like 5 miles apart from each other. But I think they were adopted in like somewhere pretty far away from here. So it's just crazy that like they ended up in the same city. They never ended up meeting, if I recall. But like it's just all that's interesting to me. I'm just like, how is that in your world?
Yeah, I had always known that I was adopted. My parents were always very open with it. My brother is my biological brother. He was born 19 months before me. And so I have other siblings that we were aware of. And so 3 years ago, I matched with 2 of my siblings on Ancestry.com. And so went and met one of them and then ended up getting connected to my birth father and birth mother. I met my birth father with my brother that I grew up with. And yeah, there was a a can of worms that was interesting to open, and there are times where I wish I didn't open it.
Hmm.
Not still connected to them now because it's just a very loaded thing. But I think where I give my parents, my adopted parents, all of the kudos is I was very aware my entire life that I was adopted. We did foster care for other babies. So there was 24 newborns in my house from when I was 10 to when I left for college. And so it was always around the world fostering and adopting. And so very appreciative to my parents for setting us up and understanding that. But yeah, my sister is also adopted. And so there's three of us. And my sister, obviously, we hated each other growing up, and I ripped the heads off her Barbies because that's what you do when your sister pisses you off. But now we're best friends, and she's awesome, and it's really cool to be able to like, your family is what you create, not just what you, not just what you're born in. And so, kudos also to my birth parents for knowing that this was not something that they could do. So. I don't know. It was a very interesting journey. Still haven't met some of the members of the family. Still deciding on that. But we'll see.
Tim, you called her the mama bear for founders. Is that what you called her?
Yeah. Well, yeah. But I mean, yeah.
That story, right, that you just told, to me sounds like because you were surrounded with all those kids your entire life, that is why you love the work that you do.
That and my dad. My dad is what? So my dad passed away 10 years ago, and my dad is the epitome of what it means to really see people. So he always saw the full potential in people. Always had this approach to people that uh, absolutely illustrates that it's nurture over nature. And so there was one story that my friend told me 3 years ago, because my dad was his dad's boss. And he was like, Debbie, I don't know if you realize that your dad changed my life. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, what? And he said, my dad worked for you, and there was a promotion, and my dad wasn't ready or qualified for it yet because of his time at the company. And he went to your dad and he said, just this is where my financial position is at for my family. I need to do more to provide for my family right now. Things are really hard. Things are really tight. And my dad looked at me, he was like, no, I see the potential. We're doing it. Like, let's go ahead and go for it. And my dad took a shot on him, ended up being able to like do this development of him as a person, and changed my friend's financial position for his family, from middle school and on. And so it's like, those are the moments where I saw my dad, even without noticing that I was seeing that in my dad, like just watching how he treated people and how authentic and how just like all open he was to seeing who they could be and helping them drive towards that and being very honest with them. There's a lot of conversations with my dad growing up of like, obviously the whole thing, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed, but he would expand on it, on like why I was disappointed, and I knew that there was so much more in you, and like you didn't let yourself fully experience everything that you could be in that moment. Like you took the easy way out. And so he was always so direct. Yes, we screamed and yelled at each other and did the whole thing, daughter father relationship. But it did towards the 2 years that I was home alone with my parents after my brother and sister went to college. Like I got this deep experience with my dad, and like definitely turned into one of my best friends. And so when I got married really young, I'd call him and be like, oh my God, Dad, Nate did blah, 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 blah. And he'd hang up on me, and he's like, I'm not talking to you till you talk to your husband. You need to learn how to handle this on your own. And so he's just like, yeah, I will always be sad about the fact that my dad didn't get to see my kids and like didn't get to see all of this life, but I also got this really beautiful time with him, as the only kid left at home, and just like watching how he was with people and how authentic and just great he was with people. And then his viewing, it was hundreds and hundreds of people just telling us stories over and over again of how my dad saw them first. He didn't see their position, he didn't see their wealth, he didn't see their title, he didn't see their failings or anything like that. He always just saw the person, very holistically. And I came to realize probably like in my mid-20s that I approach people the same way, and it's because of my dad.
Thank you for telling that story.
Yeah, I dig that.
So cool.
I think that that's one of the biggest compliments that I can receive from someone. It's like when I run into somebody or they reach out 5-10 years after they've gone on to find some sort of success and say, hey, you changed the trajectory. You taught me the things that I needed to get to this point. And like that right there makes it all worth it for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't care about the accolades or things like that. It's like, how deep of a connection did I get to build with the people in my life? Obviously also exasperated by, I've struggled with a lot of loss in my life in terms of friends who have passed away. And so from when I was a sophomore in high school to a sophomore in college, 17 of my friends and family members passed away. And then that all culminated in my dad passing away while I was towards the end of my college years. And like, you learn very quickly when you experience loss like that over and over and over again. You have no clue how long you're going to get to know this person and how long you're going to get to be with this person or experience life with them. So I might as well have real deep conversations from the get-go. I don't do well with small talk and things like that. And so that's the other reason why it's so fun to work with founders, because a lot of times founders are also trying to cut through that crap pretty quick and just like really talk about what it means to be a founder, the struggles that come with it, the excitement that comes with it, the emotional roller coaster that comes with it, the indecision and decision that comes with it. And so it's a type of person that I have found with founders in particular that crave that deep human connection. And so it's a good fit for me and my career, because that's how I live life. So it's been very emotionally and mentally fulfilling and draining all at the same time.
Well, how do you work? How do you when I started the incubator in Greater Williamsburg, one of the things that I was really, really challenging for me was I wanted their success more than they wanted it. And I had to learn the hard way. And so now I'm very, very candid with companies that we take on. And I tell them from day one, I cannot want this more than you. I will run with you step for step, but I can't want this more than you do. How do you handle that? Because it just seems like we have very similar personalities. Did you have to learn the hard way? How do you handle it?
Yeah, there's a lot of hard learning there, and also a therapist to help me realize, like, you cannot take their emotion and you cannot take their outcomes and bring them in and hold them to your chest and take them on. You have to just hold it out here with them and say, I'm acknowledging this. Like, yes, okay. Also having a very early conversation with them of what do they define as success. I had to learn to start asking that very early on, because the other part with my personality and just the way I approach life is I always see really big potential in every person, and sometimes that's not what they want to pursue. And so being very clear of like, what does success mean to you? We can drive towards that together, getting them to set really clear goals. And also getting comfortable with, it was less of their success and like where they wanted to go, and more of sometimes they can't hear the feedback that I'm giving to them right now, and that's okay. And so there's moments in the early days where I'd get so frustrated where I'm like, they just need to do this and they need to hear this feedback, but they're getting so defensive or they're getting mad or whatever it ends up being. And I'm like, they're just not mentally prepared to take that feedback right now. Give them some space, give them some time, and continue to let them process, understanding that in the way that I approach life, when someone says there's a problem, I'm like, oh, that's objective. There's a problem and a solution. The end.
Yeah.
But for others, when you say there's a problem, it's like, that's emotional and that's a personal affront to me, and something's wrong with me because you said the word problem. And so it's like, you know what? Need to figure out how to better approach. We set a norm in my old organization that feedback is direct but not personal. It's never an affront to you as a human. But it's there. Here's a problem that we've identified that we need to solve. And so there is a lot of relearning how I communicate with people, because like you said, I do cause trouble. I do say it like it is. But I usually need to set the ground rules that this is direct and not personal. I don't think you're a bad person. I think that there's things that we can all learn together. So how are we going to learn that right now?
Yeah.
Can you say that quote again? Feedback is direct but not personal?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with that, I mean, like you said, batch 18. I mean, that's a pretty long history in terms of the number of companies, the alumni, the strength. and the brand that you're protecting the
Yeah.
brand of Lighthouse and of Debbie. So
Yeah, it's a big lift, but it's exciting. Like
yeah,
we've had 140 companies go through. 91 of them are still active. That's a lot. 13 have been acquired. That's a lot of acquisitions too. With I think some more coming within the next 12 months. But we'll see how it goes. But it now I get the opportunity to go back to all of these alums and like have real conversations with them. That's the part of the fun part of my job last year was doing a deep dive into the alumni network and understanding like where are you at, where are you going, what do you need, what is a real way Lighthouse can help, and that started informing the new direction for Lighthouse.
Okay. The
sounds
thing,
juicy.
yeah, but I'm gonna go to the thing that you talked about first, and then we can go to the juicy part, the juicy fruit part, Tim.
I like fruit, so I like juicy. Go ahead.
And not vegetables, we had learned.
We can go back to that too.
Okay. I have no idea what the hell you guys are talking about there, but we'll get to it. 91% are still active. Like
91 of the 140, not 91%.
okay. So what is that? Like 60% or so? Something like that. I don't want to do the math. A lot, right? That's a good amount.
Yeah.
Is that like they still have their business license? I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer here, but like I'm just like, yeah, I think that's a very big number, right? And so it's like, is that just like, okay, they have their business license, they're still very active, like, because that's pretty impressive because you see all of these accelerators across the country and you see a lot of companies that, accelerate, jump, and they go from thing to thing to thing. And it just seems like they're just throwing through companies, and for you guys to still have that many,
65.
See, I was close.
Yeah, you're
I'd like to
pretty
take
spot
my
on.
Well,
LLC
65%, considering that 80 to 90% are of a failure rate, is that's
Right. But from one
Wait.
organization, and I know you haven't been there the entire time, but like, what is that sauce to be picking correctly? Because I can think of the 13 hatch companies that we invested in. I mean, I think one is still probably active, right? And there was 3 acquisitions, I guess you could say, in there, and that's 2 companies once and then another company. But like, that's pretty crazy that a company that started basically the same time as Hatch has seen so much more success. Now, I think they're slightly different organizations, but like, what is the reason why? What's the sauce behind that?
I will forever believe that a big part of it is in the mentor network that was built by Todd and Larkin and then the organization over the past 13 years. We like started really digging into the data more in the past year, and it's 60 of those companies of the 140 have raised more than $500,000, which is a pretty big number. And so the majority of the ones that are active, of that 91, 60 of them have raised more than 500,000. And like, okay, there's something here. And so for the ones that go on to have success, again, it's also an indicator of that company of what they define as success. So are they all venture backable companies? No, that's unrealistic. Like it's 3 to 5% of companies are venture backable, but a lot of these companies who have raised funds are going on to become profitable and sustainable and revenue generating businesses. So the majority of those companies, outside of some of our ones that are med device and FDA approval is required, are generating revenue, with several of them getting to the point where they're over 500,000 in annual recurring revenue. We ran the numbers not long ago that 22 of the companies in the Lighthouse network have gotten to more than $1 million ARR. Which is huge. Like it is a huge lift to get up to $1 million ARR to begin with. But to be able to get 22 of them there, and it's not just in our mentors, it's in how the mentors trained the founders, because we don't have a ton of interaction with alums from Lighthouse once they exit the program. And so there's something within that program that taught the resiliency and how to ask questions and how to build the foundation that they need to continue moving their companies forward. And so it's a lot of Lighthouse has always had the tagline of investing in the lives of founders. We've always cared significantly more about the skill set of the founder than just the outcomes of the business. And so some other metrics that we've started to introduce even in the past year is for the companies that fail, how many of those founders try again? Because that indicates resiliency, that indicates the willingness to try and learn and just be a part of the entrepreneurial journey. And then how many of them that do exit start to reinvest into future Lighthouse companies. And we already have 4 alums who have started to move money back into current Lighthouse and future Lighthouse companies. Like, that's a big full circle moment for
That's what
us.
it's all about.
That's
That's the
what it
goal,
should be about. Yeah, that's like
right?
so exciting to see these these alums turn into investors now, and they're like, oh, this is interesting. Like, oh, I like this company, and even the way they mentor is so spot on. Like, the mentor for Vroombrick is James Barrett. James Barrett founded Tenant Turner, and he was batch 2 of Lighthouse, I want to say. And then right after Lighthouse ended up getting into Y Combinator as well. And James is on our board now and is super involved with Lighthouse and is also mentoring Broombrick, which ended up being the perfect match because he was considering B2C and then moving B2B, and Broombrick's looking at some other opportunities within what they're looking at. And so that really robust full circular moment is really, really, really important to the success of organizations like Lighthouse. So it's been really exciting to dig back in to the alumni network and be like, where are you now and how do you want to engage? And if so, if you need help, what does that help need to look like?
And I'm sure that help forms how you interview prospective companies for future batches as well.
Yeah, coachability is a big thing that we look at. And we also look at just overall, like, we ask the question, how do you think Lighthouse can help you? And so we're really looking for them to say, these are the type of connections that they're looking for. This is the type of the community that they're hoping to be a part of. Founders who are ready to push themselves as people and be able to take feedback. And yes, there are times during cohort in particular where a founder will get pissed off at me or our mentors because of how much feedback they're getting over the 12 weeks. But at the end of the day, those founders still come back around after those conversations and say, I'm hearing what you're saying. I can take that feedback. And they're also strong enough to know that's not feedback that I'm going to take, but here's my reason why. Rather than just like getting defensive and shutting everything down, they're like, I am picking this decision because this is what I've researched, this is what I know, and this is where I want to go. And then they're still going to be open to feedback in other areas too. So you're building that confidence within the founder rather than just like they have to take every piece of advice they get from a mentor, because then they have everyone else running their company for them, rather than teaching them how to make those decisions and drive that forward. And so you're building better founders. And so then the investors that we partner with that are like, we want your deal flow, it's because they know our founders are well-vetted founders.
Well, the feedback is direct, but not personal is what I take out of that, right?
Precisely. Like, we love
This
you.
is-
We swear we do.
Would you say building better founders?
Yeah.
We'll see if that turns out to be the title of this show afterwards. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Okay.
Well, we'll bounce
I'm not
off
ready
the
for the-
robots.
I'm not ready to get to the juicy part, but what about fruit and veggies? What did I miss?
I was diagnosed with ADHD a little over 2 years ago now, and so there's a lot of things that make sense in my life now, but one of the things you're talking about, and this is not proven, so no one come at me, but there's also this thing called being a super taster, and it's not because I am better than everyone at tasting food, it's because we experience certain flavors way more intensely than others. So like, I don't like beer, it's always too bitter. I don't like vegetables, they taste like dirt. So there's like these certain things where it just throws us off or it's overwhelming or whatever. So Tim and I were at a dinner and I noticed that he didn't eat the vegetables on his plate and I didn't eat the vegetables on mine. And so then we started talking about how he doesn't like them. And I was like, hold on, I have a theory of ADHD people that we're super tasters because it
Wait a
can be
second,
overwhelming.
Yeah,
Tim,
it was
you don't
the
eat
most
vegetables?
unlikely conversation that one
No,
would ever
this
think you would
is.
experience over a dinner.
I saw you have lettuce on your sandwich the other day.
Lettuce is not
No, no,
vegetables.
I didn't know you didn't. There wasn't lettuce on my sandwich.
Name of that? What's the name of that sandwich?
I had the hilltop. I strategically picked the sandwich because I want to make sure that there's not going to be anything on there that I have to pick around.
Here, I don't believe you.
100%.
Now, granted, I like eat veggies more now because my husband makes really good ones that are covered in other things. So it
Butter.
really, precisely. So it takes away the health of it, the
Yeah.
vegetable. And I'll still do salads because salads are fine. It's like when you put asparagus or green beans or like carrots and whatever in front of me, I'm like, I don't like vegetables. I don't want to eat these.
Oven
Yeah.
roasted turkey, provolone, house dressing on French. I'm wrong. I'm wrong.
Yeah, but
Right.
that led to the fact that as much as we do not like to participate in vegetables, fruit, on the other hand, is something like
Primo.
we
Hmm.
just for example. So Debbie, I not even knowing that you're going to be on the show today, went to Costco on Saturday and got a big thing of grapes. They were gone by Sunday. So then we went to Costco on Sunday to get another big thing of grapes. And
Wow.
all that to say, 2 things of grapes, 3 cartons of strawberries, a carton of blueberries. They're just going to be gone. Like all that's left is a few blueberries. But yeah, go to town on the fruit.
Heck yeah.
Wow. Fruit life. Okay.
Huh.
It is the way.
Okay. So, what's the juicy aspect? What are we talking about? So, what was juicy that you guys were talking about?
Well, Debbie mentioned that there's a new direction of Lighthouse. So I was just like, that sounds juicy.
Oh, yeah, y'all would be getting the scoop on this. We will be officially launching it all, with new branding and everything,
Oh wow.
uh, in 3 to 4 more weeks. But Lighthouse Labs is now the Lighthouse Network. And there are 3 networks that exist within that, which is the Lighthouse Founders Network, the Lighthouse Mentor Network, and the Lighthouse Investor Network. Um, the big reason for this is the more and more we've talked to alums, the more and more we've talked to our investing partners and our mentor partners, is there's a big gap between exit from program and what a founder really needs. They need ongoing support, and it's not just they need community, but they need additional training, they need additional access. And so without creating that for them, a lot of times they're like, wait, which mentor do I go to and how do I do this? And so there's a lot of floundering that can happen for a founder post any type of program. I mean, you see it happen with national programs, you see it happen with local programs. Like, we don't do a great job as accelerators following up with founders. And so one of the things that we're moving towards is actually dropping some of the accelerator language and leaning more into our founder development program, because that's what we're really here for. We're here for the long-term support of our founders. And so with the network, it'll be 1 cohort a year, which is still traditional acceleration programming. And then the rest of the year is committed to investor roadshows for anyone in the network that's raising. It's ongoing training that is built by some of our mentors, like sales ops. I love my founders. They're incredible. It is very hard to sell, and a lot of them need some additional support and learning some of the facets of not just how to go and close a sale, but how to operationalize it. And so building out additional content on sales ops, building out additional content on activation once you do have a customer within your platform. There's a lot of things that you need to do, because as humans, we want to be led, and we want someone telling us what to do every step of the way. So if your marketing's not matching that, once you bring someone onto your platform, you end up having a lot of attrition. And so then you just have a ton of customers fall off, and you're like, wait, what happened? It's like, well, you didn't engage them the right way. And so really building out the systems that support this growth to million ARR. And we have some genius alums within the Lighthouse Network that are going to come back and do some of that training for us, as well as past mentors and current mentors that are helping us to build that content to be able to deliver it. And then we'll also be having a network summit in the fall that brings together any company. It'll be open to any company that's ever gone through Lighthouse to give them additional opportunity to connect. And so this really long-term engagement with our founders, especially on the fundraising support side and operational support side, like, hey, founder, you're beating your head against a wall because now you have a $500,000 ARR company, and that's very different than when you were trying to build to there. And here's culture things you need to worry about as you're bringing on new employees, and things like that. Like, those are areas that as an organization like Lighthouse, we should be filling, and we should be coming alongside those founders for the long term.
I like that.
This reminds me of no, it's okay. So you don't know this story about me. Tim knows some of it. So started hosting a bunch of like different verticals of meetups. So like entrepreneurs, designers, developers, and then we started this thing called Drinks Downtown. And I was like, oh, all these people are in one place at one time. This seems like there's like this opportunity where these people want to hang out. What happens if we can have them build a company in a weekend? So we did like a startup weekend style thing, but we call it wasn't associated with them, but it was called Start Norfolk. And there it was like, okay, there's 3 days. What happens if we can work with these companies longer? Okay, let's start Hatch. We invest in them, we get them for 90 days. And then there it was like, oh, there's more problems. So let's keep doing programming, which became this thing called 1004. And so that evolution, it sounds exactly like what you guys are, you're realizing like, okay, like we're supposed to be here for these 8, 12, however many weeks for a cohort. But it's like, that's not the whole cycle of the business. The cycle of the business, 15, 20 years. And so it's cool that you guys are seeing that and are doing the old switcheroony to really help those companies. And I think that'll be very valuable for your 3 Lighthouse Network thingamajigs.
Pillars,
Network,
if you will.
network. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and the thing that that I learned as well is like, as much as I like to be the Papa Bear or in Debbie's case, the Mama Bear, it's like the real magic happens when the founders learn from one another. You know, like it shouldn't be us spoon feeding them everything, and then they become dependent, and that's not scalable. So it's like when you can find that magic and they learn from one another, that is super key.
And it also starts to attract more corporate partnership opportunity as well as just additional sponsor opportunity, because now for a lot of these service providers that do want to sponsor what you're doing, or a lot of these other organizations that do want to partner with you, you're now giving them more opportunity to see later stage founders, which is where they thrive. And it also gets to a point where it's just a great, like, we are personally obsessed, we as in me, am personally obsessed with Steve Ryan and Angie Collier with Pillsbury, as well as David Lay with Williams Mullins. So it's like 2 lawyers who I have been night and day impressed with. They're so founder friendly, but it's so much easier to build a partnership with them now, because it's like, hey, we're going to get founders vetted and supported to this point before we refer them to you, and then we're going to continue to work with them. And so it's minimizing the cost on the founder, and it's giving the lawyer exact deliverables that they can work on. And so it makes it a lot easier for the lawyer to do their job and for the founder to be prepared before going into those meetings. Like, the more that we, again, develop these founders, the more that we talk to these founders and say, this is what you need to know, this is what you need to build, this is what it needs to look like, the easier it is for us to build partnerships with folks like Pillsbury and Williams Mullen, because now we're sending them vetted, ready to go founders, versus a founder will engage with them and the lawyer has to do what the lawyer has to do, but then the lawyer's asking 12,000 questions that could have been answered beforehand. Then the lawyer feels bad because they've got to charge them for the hours. And so you have these crazy costs for the founder, and then the founder's like, lawyers suck. And it's like, they actually don't if you leverage them the proper way and you're prepared when going into that meeting with them. And so the more that we can partner alongside these founders to say like, hey, we're going to get you prepped for this, we're going to get you prepped for this, the more that we can start bringing them real value added service and get other service providers in there that we have vetted and know are going to work with the founder the way that service providers should be working with founders, which AKA isn't predatory.
Is Pillsbury
a legal farm, or is it food? Because is that what you think the same thing, Tim?
Yeah. Well, and then I was like, if it's the food, I didn't know that they were a Virginia-based company, but
No, it's Pillsbury Winthrop Shaw. It is a legal firm. They are based in Nova, but it's really
That's so
funny because
disappointing.
their startup division is called Pillsbury Propel, and so I've been needing to make an AI image of the Pillsbury Doughboy drinking a Propel energy drink to send to
Well,
Steve to say,
well,
this
the
should be your
robot,
new logo.
the robots aren't good with images, so it'll probably look terrible.
No, it looked really weird the first time I tried, and I was like, I
They
might just
always
need a
do.
graphic designer for this, but we can try AI a couple more times as it learns. But that's needs to be their logo. It's a Pillsbury Doughboy with a Propel energy drink, but
yeah.
trademarks and copyrights and whatever, so they can't. But it would be hysterical.
Yeah, because I was like, boy, I had no idea. Well,
Mars
That would
is
be
from
nice.
is Mars from Richmond,
Yes.
or is it just Virginia? Okay.
Yeah, right outside of Richmond.
Okay, so Richmond is famous for candy and cigarettes. Those are two things that kill people. Great.
I mean, why not?
how many? Not to put you on the spot, and I should have done the research, but how many Fortune 500 companies are around the Richmond area?
We have 11 Fortune 1000s.
Okay, 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice to have that kind of, and especially if you can shape the culture for them to adopt early stage. Yeah, that's a nice foundation to build off of.
Yeah, if everything were rainbows, roses, and unicorns, we would have a program similar to Engage. So there's an Engage program based out of Atlanta, Georgia, with Tech Square Capital. Jason Kuo is the one currently running it. I got the amazing chance to meet him during Venture Atlanta. And so founders, if you're ever looking for a good big investor conference to go to for connections, Venture Atlanta is one of them. And so what Engage does is they got 17 corporate LPs into a fund, and then those corporates not only invest in the companies that go through the program, but they create a contract for an early customer with those companies as well. So now we're talking about revenue generation and capital, because that's where programs like Lighthouse should live, is in customer and capital, not just acceleration. We should be doing this ongoing support of helping them identify corporate customer, enterprise customer, whatever it is, or helping them with customer acquisition and retention after that. There's so many things that we can do on helping these founders build these companies that isn't just helping them raise capital.
So with that, I'm curious, is it part of the DNA within Lighthouse to take advantage of opportunities when presented to you? Because it seems like whenever we reach out to Lighthouse companies, they're very quick to respond, raise their hand, and say yes. And you don't find that everywhere else.
Yeah, we're constantly telling them for certain opportunities, we're teaching them what is and isn't a good opportunity. But
that's important to know too.
Yeah, they're very responsive when there's things out there, and they'll also vet it through us of is this legitimate? Is this something that you would deem good? And for sometimes, yes, it's a pitch event for exposure that could be really great for them. For other times, it's this investor approached me and I don't really know anything about them. And it's oh, we do. They're in our network. And by the way, they've also already invested in 6 other Lighthouse companies. You should absolutely talk to that person. And so also being available to help them vet through those. But we're also, as an organization, constantly sending that stuff out to our founders. So as soon as we know it's available, we're hey, apply to this thing. It could be great. Whereas the other things that I don't find value in, I'm obviously not going to push out to them from the network perspective.
So are you guys telling me that you don't eat salads?
Yeah.
I will. That's what's super funny. So man,
No.
Deep secrets of the life of Tim. So if I'm at a dinner, if I'm at an evening dinner, especially when Terry is next to me, she'll eat her salad. Then we do the switcheroo of the plates so that I have an empty plate in front of me, and then she'll have that's been going on for.
I do that to my husband all the time.
I've known you for 15 years.
Yeah.
And I'm observant. I feel like
we've mastered the craft. Yeah.
I feel like I need to leave.
Well, so
This is
Debbie is like I go to Debbie for strength and that make me not feel so out there on my own.
You need my
Strengthen others.
superpower that my dad taught me of being able to really see people and like know all of the fun parts about them.
I have never been so disappointed in my life. I mean, this is just kidding. Okay, is there anything we haven't talked about that you want to talk about?
No, I think it's exciting to be able to engage on things like this because for Lighthouse in particular, we're not focused on just Richmond. We're focused on everywhere. With some of our like key opportunities being in Nova and other parts of the Commonwealth and Hampton Roads and also in some states that surround us. And so it's really fun to go outside and talk to other people outside of Richmond because it's like, hey, there's really cool things and we can partner and we can do collaborations and not just cooperation. And so it's just, yeah, it's really fun to link up with you guys again. I mean, I talk to Tim all the time, let's be honest. But you know, I get to meet you now, and
Well,
even
that's
though we
news
only
to
met
me
each other
too.
for 2 seconds.
I mean, we got Tim and you guys talking all the time. You guys don't eat salads. I guess
Mostly
like,
because Tim is part of the Virginia Accelerator Network, so it's more of like Tim and I and several other folks from across the state are constantly talking to each other because we all run organizations like this and it's all a headache and all a win and all everything in between. So it's like I need my peers just like founders need their peers to be like, what is life and why is this so hard?
Right.
Roger that.
What now that you're new to Richmond, the Richmond area, what has then become your go-to place to grab a bite to eat? And then on the
Oh,
flip side, now that you're out of Stanton, what is the one place in Stanton that you miss that you just love to jump in the car and
oh.
visit again?
All right. So for Richmond side, I live in Churchill, and so there are a couple spots in Churchill that I absolutely love. Obviously, Union Market. Um, and there's a place called Carlos, which is very close to my house because they have good cheap nachos, and so I can pick those up really quick to feed my children. We don't go out very much because I have a 7, 4, and 2-year-old, which means we are that family that everyone gives a side eye to
Well,
when we
you
walk
know, and
into a
like
restaurant.
going through that, we would purposely pick the loudest restaurants to go to so that way they're drowned out and
Yep.
we wouldn't get the side eye.
Yeah, because we're not going to be going to nice restaurants right now because
Yep.
I have little kids. Also, outdoor dining is prime. Anywhere there's outdoor dining, we're absolutely here for it because my kids can be nuts. Um, so there's a lot of spots, but obviously I am doing this podcast right now from the podcast room at Common House in Richmond, and they have a built-in restaurant and bar. So I end up eating here a lot because I work here every day or most days. But I love a lot of spots in Jackson Ward in Richmond as well because that's where my office is located. So it's just been fun. I get to explore a lot. We've only been here since November, which means I haven't gotten to do a lot of the outdoor dining scene yet. So looking forward to that more. In terms of Stanton, it ended up closing, and so I guess I'm glad because then I would be jealous that it's not near me anymore. There is this amazing restaurant called Aioli, and it was Mediterranean, and they had this duck over a blackberry reduction risotto that was to die for. But he retired. Yay for them. And so there's a new restaurant there that's by the local chop house. And so we haven't tried it yet. But yeah, definitely Aioli was my go-to spot, and then my drink spot was the Green Room, which was a blast and a half. Benjamin and Lauren built a really cool spot with that. But I don't know. I still appreciate a lot about the Shenandoah Valley, but I am very happy I'm in Richmond now.
Yeah.
So if there was lettuce and tomatoes on your nachos, would you tell them to like put them on the side? Like, how would you
Oh,
handle
no,
that?
no, no. I eat that. That's fine. It's like, for me, it's not the same as Tim. For me, it's like if you put a beautiful steak and potatoes and then like green beans on the side, I'm not going to eat the green beans or the asparagus or like the roasted winter vegetables, squash stuff. Like I will if it's made with a lot of like maple and other stuff great on it, like roasted Brussels sprouts in a certain way. But yeah, like you put like tomatoes and avocados
Preach.
and everything on top of nachos, whatever, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well said. Well said.
I've been doing this, but I'm gonna do this now because like this is not okay. Y'all are missing out. It's fine. Y'all can live your lives however you want. It's
I still
okay.
eat delicious food all the time, so I'm good.
I literally had lunch with Mr. Ryan on Monday. And I
Dude,
had
it
a
is
salad.
it's a very stressful time for me. Like when people are like, "Hey, when you get invited to dinners or lunches and stuff like that." I mean, it's just like Tim is quickly going online to make sure I know what the menu looks like ahead of time, so I'm
What do
not
you
in that
do at those
uncomfortable
silly
situation.
What do you do at those silly Chamber of Commerce meals where it's a salad with chicken on top? You just eat the chicken?
Pretty much. And I will like, I mean, like, thank goodness for ranch dressing, right? I mean, it's just you can drown it with ranch and eat enough to be polite.
Precisely. This is
I have,
not the South where you always have to clear your plate anymore. Thankfully, we've gotten rid of some of that. I do not
I
force
have
my children to eat everything off their plate anymore.
I have no words. I'm done with this conversation. I'm just
Oh, people walked away learning a whole lot more about Debbie and Tim than I knew that it was inevitable that this was going to come out, but
wow. Well, thanks for being here today. This has been a delight. Question mark.
Maybe?
For those of you who cannot see my sarcasm, that was being sarcastic for the last 62 minutes. Just want to make sure you guys know that, I've only been canceled 3 times. Can't have a 4th.
Third time's not the charm, apparently.
So we'll find out. Final words, Mr. Ryan? Non-salad eater?
I'm afraid to say any more. I've done enough. I've said enough. No, but Debbie, seriously, thank you for all that you do. And you are such a great person to collaborate with. And Lighthouse has always been top tier. And it continues to go in that trajectory. So thank you. I look forward to many, many more future partnerships and collaborations with you. And really thank you for all that you do for Richmond and most importantly, the founders. That's what matters most. So thank you for all that you do.
Always a pleasure. Fun to chalk with you guys.
Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Toodles.